Good day, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Just 2 days ago, the Financial Times brought out a short movie called Michael Saylor's $40 billion bet. For everyone who doesn't know who Michael Saylor is, he's probably the biggest Bitcoin proponent and Bitcoin bull in the world. He's also the former CEO and now chairman of MicroStrategy, or rebranded to Strategy actually since a couple of months. And they are the largest Bitcoin holding company in the world, or Bitcoin treasury company, however you want to call it. They own over 550,000 Bitcoin, valued at $50 billion. And the company itself is valued at $110 billion. Now, just 5 years ago in 2020, that company was valued only at $1 billion, right? That is 100 times growth factor in just 5 years and just a 5-year time frame. So if you would have invested $1 in 2020, that'd be worth $110 today. It's absolutely crazy, that growth. And he did that with a very, very brilliant but simple strategy. He just acquires Bitcoin instead of dollars, right? So he also is issuing his own shares, and he is issuing other financial products like preferred stock or convertible notes, but these are just financial products I don't really want to talk about here, and just takes that money and then buys Bitcoin with it. And he does that over and over again. It's basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. And for everyone who doesn't understand that strategy, it seems like a scam or it seems like a Ponzi scheme. But if you actually do the work on it, the same as Bitcoin, right? Like you also need to do a little bit of work to understand this. Then you understand that it's absolutely brilliant and it's going to work just fine because it's already working since 5 years and a lot of people make a lot of money with it. So the Financial Times, more specific, Katie Martin, the journalist who did that little movie, she said that Bitcoin has no obvious use case. And that is such a case of legacy media because they really haven't done much work what Bitcoin actually is or what MicroStrategy is actually doing with Bitcoin. That's why they say such a thing, right? Bitcoin has no obvious use case. I could probably count down 100 use cases for Bitcoin, but the video would be simply too long. So I decided to talk about 7 really profound use cases for Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is changing people's lives all around the world. And it's just absolutely brilliant. If you are actually looking into this and what Bitcoin is doing all around the world, if you go to conferences and if you read about it, it's transforming energy markets, right? There's all these things. It's like freedom from oppressive regimes. Just it's amazing what's happening all around. But I want to go into 7 specific. And gonna start with the first one, which is saving for a better future. This is clearly a use case, right? If you save in dollars, then your money is just depreciating, right? It's depreciating with like 10% per year. If you keep your money in the bank, it buys you 10% less every year. In 7 years, your money is cut in half and it buys you only half the stuff what it buys you today. If you have $10,000 there, it'll still be $10,000 in 7 years, but it only buys you $5,000 worth of goods and services out there, right? So saving in Bitcoin is simply a better strategy because Bitcoin is limited in supply and Bitcoin buys you more and more and more over time, while dollars buy you less and less and less. The more central banks print, the more they issue in currency, the more Bitcoin goes up in price. And that is simply a better savings technology. Then the second one is escaping a crisis with portable property or portable wealth. Imagine you are a Ukrainian citizen and Russia is declaring war on you, right? And you have to flee the country. But your assets are in gold bars and are in property. And maybe you have a car and maybe you have some watches. And now you need to flee the country. But, the borders close and you can't really flee the country with your property, right? How are you going to take your house with you to a better world, to a better future? You simply can't. How are you going to take your gold bars through the airport? They won't let you. They're going to be taken away from you. How are you going to take your watches with you? They maybe let you have it, maybe, if you're lucky. Cash doesn't work either. You want to send money like on the SWIFT system out of Ukraine? Doesn't work. All the rails are cut off. With Bitcoin, you can keep 12 words in your head, right? It's absolutely amazing. And that's your private key. And you can leave the country. You throw your laptop away, you throw your phone away, you just walk through the airport if you're able to leave, obviously, and you move to the new country and you buy a new laptop, you type in your 12 words, and there is your Bitcoin. Doesn't matter if it's $10, $100, $1,000, a million, 10 million, $1 billion. You can do it with every amount of money. The third use case is helping family abroad. I actually have an Argentinian friend here in Australia, and he's working so much here, he's busting his ass off to send money to his mother in Argentina. And if he sends money via a wire payment to Argentina, the Bank of America, or Wells Fargo, is taking 20% of that, right? So of the money he makes here, he gets taxed already with like 25%, and then he sends money to his mom, and he has to pay another 15 to 20% fee to the bank to send money to his mom. Now then his mom lives in a small village. She then needs to go to the next biggest city where the ATM is and gets that cash, and potentially gets robbed on the way. That's just crazy, right? Like, so you don't even know if you actually get the money even though you have sent it and you already paid almost 40% to get that money over to Argentina. If you send Bitcoin, it takes a split second to send that money, and she has it on her phone and she can use it. All right. That is an absolute amazing technology in my eyes. You don't have to have permission from anyone to send this. And here we go. She has the money. The third use case the fourth one is economic independence for women. This is actually a really, really profound one, because in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, women don't have property rights. In Iran or Afghanistan, or even Sudan as well in Africa, women don't have property rights. You cannot own any property. You cannot own anything. Everything the family owns is under the man's name, right? And that's if you want to call it oppressive, it is really. But with Bitcoin, you can hold your 12 words in your head, or you can hide the private keys, and it gives you ultimate property rights. You can always do that in a manner which nobody finds out. And if you have to flee from your family, you always can take your Bitcoin with you. Nobody can steal that from you. That's amazing. The fifth one is supporting protest movements. Now, this is a little bit a tricky one, but for example, during the health crisis in Canada, there was a trucker protest, and you couldn't send money anywhere, right? You couldn't send money there because the government in Canada would simply block all payments to these truckers, and also their bank accounts got frozen. That is completely crazy. Imagine being a trucker, and just because you don't want to take a certain medicine, or you don't want to put a mask on for whatever reason, right? They block your bank account. They just freeze your bank account. You can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your food, you can't pay insurance. How are you going to feed your kids? You can't pay gasoline. What the hell is going on? That is mad. So with Bitcoin payments always go through, because it's a permissionless network. You can use it any time of the day, whenever you want, however you want, right? It's a ultimate freedom money network. That's what Bitcoin is. Then the sixth one is helping the unbanked. Okay, there is only 2 billion people in the world which are actually able to use the banking network, right? The US dollar network. There's a lot of people all around the world in third world countries, and even in Western world countries, which can't get a bank account, right? For whatever reason that might be. It's because the banking infrastructure is so bad it doesn't work, or because of dictatorships, socialism, communism, right? North Korea, that's completely cut off from every somewhat banking system. And Nigeria, for example, doesn't have any banks there. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. Always, please let me know in the comments down below if I say something stupid. I'm happy to listen to that. But with Bitcoin, I have instantly a banking system, right? If I want to send someone else $10 via my phone, then I can do that, right? I just need a $20 or $40 smartphone for me to use the Bitcoin network. And that is a way better egalitarian system than if you have to have banks and banking infrastructure and all of that. So that's a very profound use case because it banks around 5 billion to 6 billion people worldwide. That's just incredible. Imagine you don't have access to a banking network, what that would mean to you. And the last one is fighting financial discrimination. Now, they all go hand in hand a little bit, but I just wanted to use a couple of examples here. If you, in America, for example, I know that from a friend, if you grow up in the wrong area and with the wrong zip code, right? In some areas which are socioeconomically not very strong, then you most likely don't get a loan, right? Like it's really based on that in certain countries. And or if you have lack of credit history, that just the bank doesn't give you any loans, even though you want to start a business, and that's just unfair, right? But if you have Bitcoin, there's the whole banking or the whole Bitcoin network has a way of you can borrow against your Bitcoin, right? And so you don't even need a credit check to borrow money on the Bitcoin network. There's lenders and borrowers on the Bitcoin network. There's platforms that you can basically be your own bank. If I own some Bitcoin, I can lend out that Bitcoin to someone else, and they pay me interest on that, right? And so I can start giving people loans, and all these things, right? You just really see that Bitcoin has a ton of use cases, and it has a lot of values in terms of freedom, sovereignty, honesty, and it's just a more egalitarian and more equal and fair monetary system. And this is the use case of Bitcoin, most likely. So here you see that Bitcoin has a lot of use cases, and I want to thank Katie Martin still for the cool documentary. It's not a bad movie at all. It just lacks a little bit of understanding of how Bitcoin actually works. I hope you liked this video, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. All the best.